Silver Defender asks, not counting pyramid power, was there a story you wish you didn't touch with a 50-foot barge pole? No, pyramid power is the biggest story that we should never have done. It's the dumbest. I can say it's the dumbest story. Pyramid power, the idea behind pyramid power is if you take a pyramid of any kind, cardboard, paper, metal, apparently doesn't matter, and you put a razor blade underneath it, the razor blade will get sharper. This is not true. We tested this. This is a Torrey, Grant, and Carey myth. They tested it with scanning electron microscopes and yielded nothing. But I wanted to use this question as an opportunity to talk about a story that we wouldn't do with a 50-foot barge pole, and it's an interesting reason. A story that was right up the middle for the show that we never considered was dowsing. If you don't know what dowsing is a method, supposedly, of finding water by using a forked stick. Now, if you haven't ever heard of dowsing, that might sound ludicrous to you. If you grew up in the UK, you probably had a neighborhood dowser. There are people who do this for a living. It is a long occupation. Unfortunately, it is not based in physics or science fact, and it has never survived a double-blind test. Dowsing is unprovable. Every time it has been tested, it has come up for naught. The issue, and it's a perfect story for us to test, but the problem is that there are experts of dowsing, and there's someone who has this as a living. I'm not going to tell them that they're an idiot. I don't think that they're being dumb. They grew up, they were taught this thing. There may be all sorts of fascinating ways in which the human body can detect tiny changes in gravity or magnetism or just landscape and understand where the water table might be rising closer to the surface. All those things are possible and plausible. And that's a level of subtlety that's difficult to get inside the 42 minutes of the show we had to make. And so the requirement for doing dowsing as a story is you'd have to bring in someone who did dowsing, and then you'd have to make a fool of them. And the problem is if you choose someone who doesn't quite believe in dowsing, then you haven't chosen the right test subject, right? It's out there. You should be using that person that claims that they can do this and claims to have a success rate. And then, maybe if they're willing to test with you, but that's a tough episode to cut, man. You're bringing someone on and you're saying, I'm going to shatter your worldview in front of you. And right and wrong physics are one thing, but people are another. And none of us were interested, but really specifically, it was one of my particular bailiwicks was I was uninterested in bringing someone on to potentially make them into a fool on camera. Who would want that? Nobody. Stephen Baird says, what was it like to work with James Cameron? Did you get to ask him stuff about aliens? No. I've spent time now a few times with James Cameron, and it has always been lovely. He has always been really gracious and delightful. Jamie and I first met him backstage at some Discovery event, and then we realized we wanted to do a Titanic story, and I had his email, so I reached out and said, would you be willing to come and do our Titanic episode? And he wrote back this lovely thing saying how much he loved the show, how much he let his kids watch it, even though he didn't let his kids watch television, but we were something better. And he thanked us for the engineering that we had talked about on the show. And he was great. Cameron showed up. We had so many different famous people on the show over the years, and for the most part, we were spectacularly lucky. Like, everyone we worked with was really great, and that's the absolute truth. Cameron showed up alone, just by himself, no support, nobody with him, and he came in and he was like, what do you guys want to do? And I had written this opening joke where it's actually, I wrote the whole opening dialogue between me and Jamie, and it goes like this. Well, Jamie, today we're working on a story about from the movie Titanic. And Jamie says, someone made a movie of the sinking of the Titanic? Why would they do that? That's a terrible story. And I said, well, actually, James Cameron made a film out of the Titanic. And Jamie says, deep sea explorer James Cameron is a filmmaker? It's all of, yeah, I loved this idea. And then we said, well, look, let's see if James Cameron wants to help us test this myth. And we walked downstairs, and there in the shop floor is James Cameron wearing coveralls sweeping up. And we're like, hey, Jim, can you help us test the story? And he's like, absolutely. And he was like, right from the get-go, totally game for that. Super adorable. And yeah, that's a great story. I loved testing that story. I loved the methodology of that story. And I loved Cameron's wrap-up of it, which was, we meet him back in the room. He says, what's the result? And we said, it's busted. Rose and Jack could have survived on that board. And Cameron says, you are forgetting one thing. The script said the kid goes down and the kid's going down. And, you know, I got to appreciate that. He's totally right. In this realm, this is, to us, it's a movie. To Cameron, it's his world. He gets to dictate what happens in that world, and that is totally fair enough. But asking him stuff about aliens, no. I did get to spend time with Dennis Skotak. Skotak Brothers did a huge amount of the effects on aliens, and I did spend time talking to him about that shoot. All right. Did you keep, Lee Miles wants to know, did I keep the Mission Impossible masks in my collection? Okay, this was a story in which Jamie and I had high quality silicone masks made of each other that we wore to try and fool people into thinking we were the other one. This is like the Mission Impossible, right? Could you make a slip-on mask? And of course, as soon as you put me in a white shirt and you put a Jamie mask on me, I'm gonna have to dance. It's just going to be the guarantee. Oh, right. And we hired this acting teacher to teach us how to walk like each other. And the acting teacher told me, he's like, Jamie, he's like, Adam puts his hands in his pockets like this, his thumbs are out. Jamie puts his thumbs in his pocket like that. His hands are out. He does this a lot. And then he also, God, he told me this, there was something really specific about the way that Jamie stands that was fascinating to learn. The guy that was our acting teacher was the stormtrooper who said, these are not the droids we're looking for. He's the voice of that stormtrooper. He still teaches acting in Marin, or still did teach acting when we did that story. All right, wait a second, let's see here. Okay, so right, did we keep the masks? Yes, I have the mask up there. It's a horror show. This is one of those stories where the behind the scenes was something we had to kind of elide in the cut, which is that we were working with the mask producer of that was difficult to work with. That's all. I did keep the mask. I asked for the mold and was offered it at a price that was so far beyond reality. I'm still a little mad about it. I'm not averse to paying for stuff or paying for people's labor, but this was someone trying to make a whole crap ton of money off of me, and that still makes me just a little bit angry.
Thank you for watching that video. Are you as sick of the tosses to membership as I am? Good, because here's a brand new one that I recorded today, and it's nice and short. There are 3 tiers to tested membership, and they all offer awesome stuff. Find out about it by clicking the join link below. We'll see you there.